Holy smokes, it is now the 98th. I can't even believe we're old enough to have the 98th episode of Wayne's World and Kelly. And today we have Tish Showell on the show. She's a legend in the business, not because she's been doing it so long, but she's younger than me. But the fact that she's just experienced so much and then she survived. And she's such a great asset to the industry because this industry has a way of eating people alive. And she says she just snacks on it, you know? So I'm excited to have you on. This is something I wanted to have for quite a while. You have been in several places. So one of the things I want to talk about is how cams are treated and how you get to treat in different areas. I know of 3 areas. Have you been in more than the Carolinas, Florida, and Vegas?
Nope, that's it. Those 3.
Yeah, so 3 beautiful places. We all know my favorite.
Yes.
But just so what year did you start property management?
I started in '96 at a self-managed property in Hollandale. Learned a lot. I think when you're self-managed, you got to do everything. So I think it definitely benefited my career. Been licensed since '96. So it's crazy.
Forget the training wheels. You just went full on, you know. There would be a good argument to be said to be with a company like yours, First Service, or one of the other ones that actually help people along. But you kind of like, what do you call it? Fire hose?
I jumped in, drinking from the fire hose, jumping into the deep end of the pool. Absolutely. It was interesting. I think self-managed, everyone should do it once. I think prepared me. Learned a lot. And then, of course, I went on to a management company in 2001. So I've seen a lot. The industry's changed a lot for sure.
It has, and it's changing as we speak.
Agreed.
Hopefully a lot for the good.
I think we're in a difficult time, though. I think, with the tower falling, and I think it's changed the dynamics a lot. I find that residents no longer have filters as much as they used to. And you are the target. So
right.
I think people are definitely not as nice as they used to be, or they used to hide it and just not be so, in your face. I don't know if it's COVID, the tower falling, but our industry's definitely changed a bit.
I'm sure Wayne and I both agree with you 100%. And it is a lot of factors, but it's a lot of other factors that can get us back going correctly. I think that Florida legislation is moving in the right direction, but it's challenging for them. They're politicians. They don't understand the brick and mortar of a fully occupied owned property as opposed to a commercial property or their own house.
Well, the latest bill has been signed. I think it's 1201. It's been signed. Just so you know, that was the last piece of legislation. That's quite the big deal. So everybody in our industry, especially obviously the ones that live in Florida, need to pull up that bill and take a look, because it's going to have a tremendous effect on me, you, Tish, everybody in all the board folks. This is a big deal. So listen to your cam when they talk to you about that. Listen to Tish when she talks to you about it.
Right. But I'm sure when you said, I'm sure you were talking to the audience. You weren't talking to us too, because of course.
Talking to the audience. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And there's still so much more to do.
Right.
I like the fact that Florida is a very proactive state. I think they've proven to be a leader in these situations. I think we have more condos associations than anybody else in the country.
Second most. California's first.
Oh, wow.
I was afraid we might be second to them. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, we're blowing them away.
Okay.
Their legislation's nuts. Okay, I'm just going to go out and comfortably say that. The rights are on the wrong side everywhere.
Agreed.
If you rent a house out, there's new legislation. I'm not sure if it's passed yet or not. Well, this is nothing about Tish. I'm sorry, but I was just reading about this, where if you are evicting somebody, you got to give them like a year or two worth of rent on their next property when you evict them for cause.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That's
I'm
crazy.
sure no one's going to be scamming that one,
That's
so,
crazy.
Florida is doing it right, and we're doing it, even though we're not perfect, we're doing it right on so many levels. In California, you need to take a class. Maybe start watching Wayne's World and Kelly and listen to Tish, because I'm telling you, they are going so bass backwards, it's unbelievable. But so you started your career in South Florida, where you belong and where you've returned.
Yes. And it's funny, I just remembered another market. I forgot I was in Texas for a blink of an eye too. So I
Well,
actually,
what part
yeah.
of Texas were you in?
You know what? I lived in Frisco, and I was they called it a VP over there in Dallas. So I was there for a short stint.
Home with the great Derek Collin.
Yeah. Yes. But then I moved on to Vegas, which, Vegas is different. Vegas is, there's no respect for HOAs out there at all. Licensing is definitely more difficult to get. There's a very select few people that you can go to. And in addition, when you leave there, you have to take a legal class in Las Vegas. So they don't make it very user friendly for those that move out of state.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's no respect. I remember there used to be billboards all over the place bashing HOAs, and you drive into work, and it's like, oh wow, they really love us. It's like they called us vultures. I think it was interesting.
There's
And
no
then,
happy hours I could call We Love Our Cams there, I bet.
oh yeah, it's crazy. And then the Carolinas, very interesting. It's the Wild Wild West. They actually go off the code of the Not-for-Profit Act. They don't have a condo act. So you go out there, and boards are spending reserves any way they want. They're funding their operating accounts. And
Wow.
there's, then they'll ask you, show me the law. And, when you're dealing with not-for-profit law, it's not very specific on those type of things. So that was totally the Wild Wild West. That was very hard to getting used to, because Florida is so regulated. So
right.
I'm doing Florida code, and they're like, Florida law, and they're like, show us. And you can't find it. I can show you Florida. Yeah, so it was definitely very interesting. Glad to be back here. Love the regulation. I mean, I think we are, like you said, ahead of the game, and in that aspect, I do think we're getting better.
So let's go back to Texas real quick. How was Texas?
I was there maybe 6 months. No, you have no licensing there either. They really rely on that CAI designation, whether you're CMCA or above. It was they definitely have laws. So I remember that it wasn't as much as the Wild Wild West,
right.
But also not as regulated. So it's definitely a difference.
I know some people that manage properties out there that their company does, a couple of them, obviously, and then but it sounds like it's a very pleasant population.
Yeah. It was not bad.
Compared to the little bit high strungness that we might possibly have in South Florida.
Correct. And
so that probably was refreshing.
Properties. Yeah, and they had some really nice properties out there. They have a few high rises there, and I also was out in Houston, so it was nice. And then Vegas, a few high rises, a lot of hotels.
Yeah, there's a few.
Unfortunately, where I was at, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas is definitely a motto. It was a very luxury high-end building, but I definitely dealt with every law enforcement agency known to man. It was definitely an experience. I'll tell you that.
You had ATF calling you up and say, listen, we're going to be there in 5 minutes. Be prepared. Yeah, we have that in South Florida too, but I imagine it's probably really big time.
It is. You're dealing with a whole different population for sure. It's so funny though. Unfortunately, every time law enforcement got involved, it was always 30 days after the people moved out, and then you got the name, and you're like, oh man, I knew them. Really? What did they do?
Wow,
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Here in Miami, you have the same thing, but not to that degree for sure.
Right. It's more spread out, I think, is what it is. But there's definitely, I've got some buildings that I get, and I came from DC where it's just, I mean, I'm not going to say there are not a million criminals that populate the Capitol every day, because, you know, I'd be disingenuous if I didn't say that. But I think I guess they're all in cahoots. So that it was rare when something happened. I remember Cam once told me that they raided it was a Republican, and I'm conservative. There's no lie about it. You know, I don't keep that secret. It was a Republican congressman that lived in the Kennedy Warren. It's been long enough where I can probably mention it. Where a lot of well-known people live there, and they were having a party with prostitutes, cocaine. He said there were more initials at that property and never made the news. It all got covered up. He felt, he said, I almost felt like a rape victim or something. He goes, it was the most disgusting thing he'd ever experienced. And he was kind of venting to me. It was a long time ago, so I don't feel like I'm giving any secrets out. But so, and it transcends everybody. But what, you know, when I moved down here and the Cams tell me some of the things that happen at their buildings on a regular basis. This is the one story I know about DC that was crazy. And this is, you know, on a weekly or maybe a daily basis in some of these other major cities. So, and that's something that people don't know. You have to deal with that stuff too.
Right, because you're in someone's home, right? So we're here, and it's and then you're seeing things. I mean, I know in Las Vegas, I remember a guy coming in with like gallons of acetone and fertilizer, and then having the valet deliver it to the unit. And, you know, they're not making, you know, ceramics there. Something's going on, and you know, you have to like protect the population. But it's funny when you know, you have to reach out to whatever law enforcement organization, like, you know, look, they're bringing in gallons of acetone and fertilizer, like there's nothing good coming out of that.
That's like the Oklahoma City bomber. I mean, come on, right?
Right. I didn't know if it was meth or, you know, were they making a bomb? I mean, you don't know. And it's you know, when you're a property man, you see it all. You know, it's like yeah. And by the way, he was making drugs. And they were looking for him. Yeah, and they had a raid, and you know, then you have to deal with the raid, and then you got to beg law enforcement, please don't break down the door. I'll give you the key, you know, because then you have yeah, the stuff that you see, it's every day it's something different, I have to tell you. After I dealt with Las Vegas, and I'm literally thinking of writing a book on all of that. I go to Miami and they're like, by the way, there's homeless people. I don't know if you're going to be able to handle that. And I'm like, oh, please, that's like a tip of the iceberg of what I'm used to dealing with. I'll deal with any homeless person I need to.
You know, your job is to take care of the building and the community in it. You're like the city manager.
Yeah.
And that's all the stuff you're supposed to take care of, and then you do take care of. But then there's all these ancillary issues of illegal acts, of domestic abuse, of neighbor disputes, you know, nutcase. I mean, there's just so much. Is this like not the best advertisement for people? Hey, I'm going to go out and get my cam license now. This sounds great. It's amazing how, and that's why you're one of the many. You're also a great cam. I've been around you enough to know the good from the bad. I marvel at your skills, but there's so many things that you guys have to deal with. It really is. It's a thankless job.
It is, but I have to tell you, you know, when you're a kid and you have like career fair, you know, no one tells you about this industry. And I tell you, it has given me a great career. I think I'm crazy. I do love it. Every day it's something new, but I fell into it. I was very fortunate, and it's been a roller coaster, but it's been fun. It's you know, there are days you're like, why am I doing this? And then there's other days where you feel like you really make a difference. So I hope I have many more years in it, and I'm in an amazing building now. It's luxury. It's amazing. So I love the career. I love, as you know, we talk about this all the time. I love the industry.
Yeah, you know, for all we just said about it, and we all in it, we all love it. So you know, there's definitely. And a lot of it is because the amazing people. It's almost, I guess, like when you're in a foxhole, you become best friends. You know, you're taking fire. You know, sort of like that's also how a lot of us feel like when we're playing in a golf tournament together and we're, we're trying to beat the enemies, but which is usually ourselves. But it is also a very rewarding industry, and you get the self rewards of solving problems, sometimes on an hourly basis.
You do, depending on the day. And you're right. You make such great lasting relationships with your vendors and who become friends. And it's this little niche. Like it's amazing. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to be a part of it, and can't imagine seeing myself doing anything else.
Right. Go ahead, Wayne. I'm always cutting in. I'll behave.
So, Tish, you start in 96. I started in 2002. So I've been with American Building Contractors now for 22 years.
Wow.
And I think in 2002, the career expectancy of a CAM, I want to say it was 4 or 5 years, maybe more. And we have watched that dwindle down to the latest statistics I had heard were actually 4 months.
Wow.
Tell me in your opinion, what's been the erosion? I don't want to keep focusing on the bad. I want to find good things, okay? But these are real things, okay? So I was just talking to a board member last night, and he was bemoaning the fact that he's had 5 CAMs in the last 2 years. Okay,
Wow.
so we were talking about what some of the reasons are and everything. I'm not a CAM, you are. Give me some of the reasons, what you've seen in your long career, about why that continues to go down, and is there going to be an upward trajectory that we can look for?
Wow, that's a very interesting statistic for one. You have to have a thick skin, right? So the one thing you learn pretty early on is you can't take things personal. And I do notice that a lot of managers do. And the minute that boards realize, because listen, all boards are different, right? You walk into some buildings, they're amazing. You walk into others and they're out to get you, right? So I think if having a thick skin, look, I remember early on in my career, I think the very first year, I cried every day. They called me names. I was in my 20s. They called me names. It was every day. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Then the second year, I wound up fighting with everybody. I'm yelling back at them. I'm in a 70 and older building. And then finally, the third year, it really took me a time to go, wait a minute. I don't go break bread with these people. I don't go home with them. Why do I care what they think of me? That helped me tremendously, but you have to have this strong personality. And the one thing that I've noticed, because recently I've been a regional in the Carolinas, is managers don't lead the boards anymore. The boards lead them. And I think when you allow them to lead you, you're not going anywhere good. You've got to, look, I am the manager. I will lead you. And I think it takes a very strong personality to make it. Because like I said previously, these times, people are ruthless. Board members are ruthless, and some of them, look, I think there is a percentage that actually serve on the boards for the betterment of the communities. I do. But
what I also percentage would you say that is?
Don't put me on the spot here.
I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding. Do not answer that question.
It's not high. But I think most of them are a bit self-serving. So you have to lead these people, because if they lead you, you're not making it. You're not making it. And I think that's probably why that statistic is so low, because you come in and you're a whipping boy. You're taking abuse all over the place unless you can really put your foot down. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, I took a statistics class in college. East Tennessee State University. I passed it. And one thing I learned about, I had a great statistics teacher, which not too many people, I've never heard people brag about their statistics teacher, but you have to really evaluate what is being polled. So I know there's a lot of people that go out and get their CAM license, but then they never engage in a job. So I'm wondering if that statistic in Florida, I mean, it's, the number one license is a real estate license. I think I'm the only one in Florida who doesn't have a license to sell real estate. And then CAM is probably a close second. Everyone goes out and gets that license, and do they exercise it? So I wonder if that statistic's in there. But I think what's more telling is what people, there's no college education, which I don't know why, because it's a huge occupation. There should be
Agreed.
some type of trajectory for it that there
Agreed.
isn't. So what people do is they either they do it like you and just go into a self-manage and just figure it out and survive and then
Yep.
become better for it. And then there's other companies out there that actually provide some hand holding and some training, some quality stuff. And then they also a lot of outsourced training that CAMs can use by a lot of vendor classes. And a lot of them are self-serving, trying to hustle their product. Other ones are very helpful in giving you the knowledge, what you need to have a successful career.
Agreed.
But there's no, I think we probably, even as CAI, as an association, which I would love to see everybody get more engaged in again, including myself, because I'm not really excited about it right now. I think we need to be a better association on bringing the masses of people in the industry and give them something that's going to make them more marketable and intelligent and successful in their career. But people like you are the ones that help show the way.
Thank you. Yes, you know, it's funny you do say that. It's true. You do say that about CAI, and the interesting about CAI is Texas, it's huge. Las Vegas, it's also huge. Florida, it really isn't as much because I think we have the state licensing. So I think one of the biggest regrets that I think I have in my career is I really didn't take advantage of CAI because I didn't feel I had to, but I really think that people who do go that route, you know, you have a network, you have people that you can call and, you know, you meet peers. So definitely for any young manager going in there, I think join CAI, join and start talking to your peers. And maybe when you have those rough days, you won't just walk out the door and say, okay, I give up after a few months, because that way you can talk to other people who are in your same situation.
Yeah, those are good comments on CAI. We're a national company, and we're active in many chapters around the country. I moved to Florida about a year and a half ago, and there's 8 chapters of CAI in Florida. We've attended some of the shows, some of the events. In my opinion, it seems a little fractious. It seems a little vendor heavy. So when I go to these events, of course, I want to meet people like you, okay?
Right.
Because we're all in the matrix together. My observations by being, you know, in this market, we've had our license here since 2002, so I've been coming here a long time before I moved here.
Right.
The CAMs, people like you don't seem to go to a lot of these events, and I'm not going to speak for you, but you're shaking your head like, yeah, I don't either. Can you tell us why you tend to stay away a little bit?
You know, sometimes for me, it also depends on like where you're located, because sometimes it's inconvenient, right? Like right now, I'm all the way down in Key Biscayne. So for me, it's 16 minutes just to get out of here. And then you're like, you know, but then I have a meeting. And sometimes I find, and not putting any organization down at ever, sometimes they're a little cliquey too. So new managers don't feel so welcomed. I think CAI and other industries need to get better at that, because it is something you should be able to go to and not feel like it's so cliquey. Because I do hear that a lot from a lot of young managers. Well, I went, but you know, I didn't know who to talk to, and you know, it feels so cliquey. So I think if we could get better at welcoming new people, then maybe more people would attend. I love those trade shows for me. Although I've been in the industry, it seems like a million years, I also like meeting new vendors that maybe I have not been exposed to that could be great for the association.
Well, Tish, there's another thing that happens too is, so you do have CAMs that go to these events. A lot of them like to talk to other companies and just like literally like talk to them. But then certain people, maybe in the owners and executive ranks, might see, well, what are you doing talking to somebody from Associa? And you're like, hey, we're all in this together, and I can do that. So they tend to, through some self-policing, thinking that they're like, Tish, what are you doing talking to them? So they're kind of hurting themselves, is my point.
Right.
Which, by the way, we'll have to meet up again once we talk about these non-competes one time. That'll
well, that's going away.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that's one thing I'll give credit for the clown up in DC. Did I just say that? He's a
Oh
clown.
boy.
But I will say I was shocked when he said it at the State of the Union, and he said it in clear and coherently, and now it's about to come in place. At LGC, your owner's rep firm, for any major capital improvement, we don't do a non-compete with our employees. You know, like if you ever want to go out on your own or go to work for someone else, you're more than welcome to do it, and we're still going to love you. If we're not taking care of you here, now, of course, we do take great care of our clients, but we are our employees, which are our clients, I guess, too. But yeah, Wayne, I definitely, you know, we witnessed firsthand that some people are very protective and they're like, oh, well, we don't want you doing that because
Whatever,
like, hey.
man, you know,
And the funny thing
do what
is,
you want.
all the great leaders of these companies, they're a lot of them, they are friends with other companies because you're right, we're all in the same foxhole.
Yep.
We are.
Every one of us, and to see that in other markets or when it happens it's baffling to me. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. I really don't. But I'm still wondering out loud here in all the functions I've went to, I'm not meeting a lot of people like Tish. And to your point, Tish, it can be a destination, right? I understand all that. But when I go to a golf outing or I go to a function, I don't really care to be around like a lot of business partners like myself. I do want to meet new people. Okay. And if I'm not finding them, then I'm not going to continue to go to these chapters. I'm just not.
Right. Agreed.
If you build it, they will come.
I keep telling Kelly, put me on the golf list. I don't think he's done that yet, but that's okay. I'm waiting for the invite.
Gold Coast, here I'm going to do a little bad mouth, and Gold Coast just switched from a 36-hole course to an 18-hole course. I found out from another vendor because I love hanging out with vendors just as much as I love hanging out with cams. But she said, "Oh, they announced a tournament. It was in my junk mail, and apparently it's already sold out because they only have 18 holes." So you know what's that going to look like? You know. Now, I like to invite cams and people in the industry to be on our foursomes.
Sure.
Everybody else depends on people like us to do that, and they just bring all their vendors. And it's a two-sided street on that. And there was another point that had nothing to do with what I wanted to make, but we're getting close already on time. I knew this was going to happen. It goes too quick. But I think I know what I was going to say. So, like, if you look at like LA, which you know here, that's apparently the biggest, and I badmouth California for a lot of good reasons. They used to at least have a phenomenal chapter. So does DC, phenomenal chapter. If you think it's easy to get around somewhere, go to DC. It's a nightmare. People go and here I'm driving in sunshine and maybe a little sprinkle every once in a while. They're driving in January. They get 400 to 600 people to show up at a breakfast meeting when it's like 32 degrees and raining and everybody shows up. Why? Because they do a great job. And people show up because they're doing a fantastic job. And I think, you know, we all need to step it up. But we really need to figure out a better way to make it happen in Florida.
And we probably need some fresh blood in there. You know what I mean? I think that same leaders recycle and, you know, maybe get some fresh blood out there and see if we could be more welcoming and get on the right track over there.
Well, and I know Southeast, I haven't made it to anything yet. And I'm blanking on his name. He's a great guy who's really very passionate about the industry.
Love that.
Just took over as president. And I think it's going to be fun to see. He's in my opinion, he seems to be very selfless and really wants to make things happen. So I think hopefully they're making a good step there. Gold Coast, I know I just busted their chops about this golf thing, but it's a major screw up. Well, you know, why you got to find a place where you can have, if you can fill two courses, fill two, or you know, you fill two courses. Don't all suddenly go from one year to the next where you reduce it by half as many participants because it was the best event.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's not because I love golf. It was they did everything perfect.
The CAI branch in Illinois, I just golfed their outing last one, 3 courses.
Wow.
Okay. So
Yeah.
to your point,
We,
a lot of it is about the executive director, Cheryl Murphy, good friend of mine. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? She runs CAI Illinois, and she's won multiple awards at national because of how good she is. But that's just another example.
yeah.
Filling it up with 3 courses in the day is just wonderful. Plenty of room for everybody, plenty of time to network, and it's just good energy.
Well, they could fill it up, and they did. I mean, I'm telling you, the last few years that several years I've attended the tournament, it's been fantastic, the whole thing. And for them to, whoever made the decision to drop it to one course, which eliminates,
Yep.
everybody from attending, it's like, wow, that's a major mess. And I hate seeing big mistakes like that. That was their best event of the year. So,
Wow.
So, but. So Trish, what's your favorite market that you've worked in? And I don't, not just because, I'm Mr. South Florida. Give me your honest answer on your career. Where's been your favorite place?
It's South Florida. I mean, if you look, that's where all the big high rises are. And it's funny,
Yeah.
I learned that when I went to South Carolina and everything's flat. And I'm like, here I'm a regional, but where's the high rises? There isn't any. So for me, South Florida high rise, there's nothing like it.
I
Definitely
love
my
it.
favorite.
And I would have been okay if you would have said something else. But I do love your answer. We have beautiful, in the day, it's beautiful. You look to the east, you see the ocean, depending on where you are. If you look to the west, you see the intercoastal or more. And then sunsets at night, but then we have the beautiful skyline in the evening of all of our cities from Jupiter all the way down to the Keys.
Can't beat it. I
We're
walk
living in
outside the
paradise.
property and there's the beach. It's so nice. You're living in paradise for sure.
But so also you hear a lot of noise. Is my mic picking up the construction that's going on upstairs?
Yeah, I can hear it.
A little bit.
I get more people because on our projects, it's a lot of concrete restoration, and they're putting up with that noise, several hours a day, and some people don't like it. Shocking. To me, it's music in my ear. But I'm commiserating with how annoying that must be for people for weeks and months and
years sometimes. Yeah.
But it's just part of communal living in high-rise condominiums. And
but I always find the noise sensitive people are the ones who move into high rises. And you want to go, why?
It makes no sense. Or people that don't like people. I mean,
yes.
Really? Did you
don't
understand?
Want to follow rules. They don't want to follow. You're like, why didn't you move into a house? Why are you in a high rise of all places?
Go find a non-HOA if you want to do that. But this is, there's some compromise we have to do. You be an individual, but get in line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. I know you got a big day ahead of you. I'm tickled that we got you on. I've known you. You're one of the first ones I met when I moved to South Florida 5.5 years ago. Yep. So I love our friendship.
Me too. Thank you.
I'm a big fan of yours, and we're gonna have to bring you back on because I think we scratched like 2 things of the 50 things I wanted to talk about. So
thank you so much for having me. I really
thank you, Tish. Appreciate your time, and it was nice to talk to you. Nice to meet you. Yep.
And I'll see you out there on some of those events.
I'm looking forward to.
We're bringing you in, baby.
Thank you.
Breaking news. Okay. God bless.
Thank you, everybody.
Adios.